All right, today we're going to continue on in our pursuit of God for LDS investigators. And in these first few topics, we're just trying to help you to understand if you're considering pursuing the God of the Bible, maybe you're considering coming out of Mormonism, we're trying to help you to understand what the Bible says about God, his character, his nature, what the Bible says about religion. And today we're going to talk about this, and Jason, help us unpack this. We're going to talk about the fact that people matter to God. And what we mean by that, Jason, is it's not just religion that matters, because I think that's what some people think, is that religion is sort of this stuffy thing, and buildings matter, and tithing matters, and looking religious matters, as if it's all like institutional. Rules matter, right? But what we want to make sure people understand, if you read the Bible, you will understand that more than anything else, more than rules, more than regulations, more than religion, people matter to God. Jason, is that a new thought for some people coming out of the LDS church? Was that a new thought for you?
Yeah, I think that that's something that's pretty eye-opening for people. In the LDS church, you're so focused on doing the things that you need to do and the right things, and oh, check the box. I read my Bible today. I paid my tithing this month. I went to the temple. I did my temple work. I did all these things, and you're so focused on that it's easy to lose track of the people in your life. And the thing about God is he's not interested in those things. He cares about people. He cares about every one of us. And so for us, that it comes down from those two basic commandments of loving God and loving our neighbors. When we think about who our neighbors are, that's everyone around us. And so those people should matter. It's not just the neighbors that you get along with. It's
Mm-hmm.
not just your best friends or whoever. It's the people across the street who do things that bother you. It's the people whose dog comes and does his business on your lawn. I mean, it's
Yeah.
everybody. People matter to God, and so they should matter to us.
Yeah, and I think one of the stories in the Bible that best illustrates this comes from John chapter 8, and some of you might be familiar with that. That was a story where some Pharisees drug this adulterous woman, this woman caught in adultery, before Jesus. They were trying to trap him, and they said, "Hey, Jesus, the law says, the rules, right? The rules say to stone this person. What do you think?" And I love it because Jesus is obviously so brilliant, right? And so Jesus isn't going to fall for their trap. They're trying to get him to look like a hypocrite, I think, in front of all the people, or they're trying to get him to look like a rule breaker, which they could also use against him. But instead, what happens, and again, read this for yourself in John 8, as he kneels down, he starts writing something on the ground. Now, we don't know what he was writing, but I think, Jason, maybe he was writing the names of the Pharisees' mistresses, or maybe some of their secret thoughts, right? Because he gets it, and he stands up and he says, "Hey, whoever's the one without sin, be the first to throw a stone." And one by one, they all walked away. And then it was just him standing there with the adulterous woman. It's such a great picture. And basically what he says to her is, "Hey, they're gone. Nobody's here to accuse you anymore." And he says, "I'm not going to accuse you either." But it's interesting, at the end of that, he finally says, "Go and leave your life of sin." So it's not like Jesus is saying, break the rules don't matter. I think, Jason, what he's saying there is, more than anything else, people matter. Even more than rules, people matter to God. And I think for people coming out of the LDS church or the LDS experience, Jason, this might be something that people have to wrestle with and maybe even convince themselves of a little bit.
Yeah, if I could just share a personal story here about it. I was sent on an LDS mission to London, and I came home early for surgery. And one of the things I experienced was a lot of gossip, a lot of talk behind my back about why I was home, and so it became very apparent that it wasn't about me. They didn't necessarily care about me as a person and what was going on. It was they were more interested in what rules I broke to be sent home from my mission, which wasn't the case at all. And so that's just a personal example in my life of where the rules have been more important, and checking that box was more important than the person. And so I think this can be something that would be very difficult for people to wrap their minds around, and to understand that, we're so quick to judge, and we're so quick to assume, when really we should be quick to help. We should be quick to heal. And so this can be something that's very challenging and very difficult for everybody to accept, but definitely coming out of the LDS Church, or investigating the LDS Church, that this is a different concept, I think, for people.
Yeah, another way to say this is that love is at the core of God's nature. And what that means is that true followers of Jesus should reflect the love of God, right? So, Jason, even for you, I think when you first came out of the Mormon church, I think your first instinct was almost to be angry, almost to be combative about some of the stuff that you learned growing up. And one of the things we shared with you is, hey, dude, love is at the core. Like, you can't say that you're a follower of Jesus and now you're just this mean-spirited person because you feel like you were duped or something, right?
Yeah, that honestly, that was a rough time in my life, and it wasn't just right when I left the LDS Church. It was a good couple of years of my life, and I was so jaded and so angry, and I spent so much time on Facebook arguing with people, and trying to prove them wrong, and say all these horrible things about the LDS Church, and finally, like I said, you guys came and said, that's what you're doing is not out of love. And that was so eye-opening to me. And so to do something out of love, it became more of, okay, I'm angry, I'm jaded. There's probably other people who feel the same way. And the reality is, there's so many people who leave religion, and they throw it all away. They think if they grew up in a religion, in some sort of rules-based religion, that if that's not true, then nothing's true. And so I'm just going to walk away from God completely. And so reality is that a lot of people become atheists or agnostic. And so in changing my approach and wanting to have love at the core of what I was doing, it now becomes, I want to introduce you to Jesus, instead of just, you're wrong because of whatever reason. So having love at the core of everything is huge for understanding that people matter.
Yeah, and one more thing on this point, and this is maybe a little bit more theological, but the reason people matter, like if you want to know biblically, so why do people matter and which people matter, right? The answer is all people matter. And the reason all people matter is because if you go back to Genesis chapter 1, verse 27, every human being was created in the image of God. So what that means is that as human beings, it doesn't matter which human being we're talking about. Every single human being on the face of the earth is an image bearer of God. You were created in the image of God. And that's what gives us worth. That's what gives us value. A lot of people think, well, no, it's my accomplishments that give me value. Or some people sadly think it's my skin color that gives me value. Or it's the amount of money that I make that gives me value. Or it's the family I was born into that gives me value. Well, the Bible has a real simple answer to that. No, it's the fact that you were created in the image of God, as is every other human being, that's why you matter to God. And I think this is what we're getting at in this topic. People matter to God. It's not just rules that matter. It's not just religion that matters. It's not just the church that matters, an institution that matters. According to the Bible, people matter more than anything.